Hello and welcome again to another exciting episode of Encountering Jesus, where I invite you to put aside what you know or what you think you know about Jesus and come along with me over a cuppa through the Gospel of John, and we look at him completely afresh. We look at him as a person that we haven't heard of before, reading the Gospels, if you like, for the first time. And last time we looked at Jesus, the King of Truth, where we looked at, what is truth and was Jesus telling the truth. And if you missed that episode, you can find it in a link in the description below. But as always, if you are enjoying this channel, why not like, subscribe and click the bell, and you'll never miss another episode. So today we're moving on through the story now, and we're looking at Jesus, innocent or guilty, and we're going to look at John chapter 19 verses 1 to 16. And as always, I'm using the New Living Translation here, which will be up on the screen, or you can follow along with whatever Bible translation you like. So we're looking at John chapter 19 verses 1 to 16. Then Pilate had Jesus flogged with a lead-tipped whip. The soldiers wove a crown of thorns and put it on his head, and they put a purple robe on him. "Hail, King of the Jews," they mocked, and they slapped him across the face. Pilate went outside again and said to the people, "I am going to bring him out to you now, but understand clearly that I find him not guilty." Then Jesus came out wearing the crown of thorns and a purple robe, and Pilate said, "Look, here is the man." And when they saw him, the leading priests and temple guards began shouting, "Crucify him! Crucify him!" "Take him yourselves and crucify him," Pilate said. "I find him not guilty." The Jewish leaders replied, "By our law he ought to die, because he called himself the Son of God." And when Pilate heard this, he was more frightened than ever. He took Jesus back into the headquarters again and asked him, "Where are you from?" But Jesus gave no answer. "Why don't you talk to me?" Pilate demanded. "Don't you realize that I have the power to release you or crucify you?" Then Jesus said, "You would have no power over me unless it were given to you from above. So the one who handed me over to you has the greater sin." Then Pilate tried to release him, but the Jewish leaders shouted, "If you release this man, you are no friend of Caesar. Anyone who declares himself a king is a rebel against Caesar." And when they said this, Pilate brought Jesus out to them again. Then Pilate sat down on the judgment seat on the platform that is called the stone pavement, in Hebrew, Gabbatha. It was now about noon on the day of preparation for the Passover. And Pilate said to the people, "Look, here is your king." "Away with him," they yelled. "Away with him, crucify him." "What? Crucify your king?" Pilate asked. "We have no king but Caesar," the leading priest shouted back. Then Pilate turned Jesus over to them to be crucified. We all react differently to pressure. A couple of sessions ago we looked at Peter cracking under pressure and how he felt the pressure just being interrogated by a couple of servant girls. But in any given situation, we have the opportunity to do the right thing or to do the wrong thing. And sometimes we have to make an instant decision, and sometimes we might have a long time to make a decision. But how we react and how we resist or how we bow to pressure determines, becomes a mark of our character. It becomes a mark of our character, of how we stand up to a certain situation, doing the right thing or the wrong thing. And here we find that Pilate is faced with a dilemma, because if he releases Jesus, there's going to be a riot, and in his heart he knows that Jesus is innocent. He will have heard about Jesus going around doing miracles and teaching and everything else and being, if you like, a peaceable man. And now Pilate is faced with this dilemma, because the crowd are going mad and they're baying for the blood of Jesus, and they want to release Barabbas. And 3 times Pilate says, that Jesus is innocent of any crime. And in Matthew's gospel, Pilate gets a message from his wife saying, look, last night I had a dream, this man is innocent, do not condemn this man. And as any good husband knows, you don't go against your wife when she's determined on something, otherwise you're in peril. You might not be crucified, but you don't go against the decisions of your wife when she gives you a dire warning. And the thing is, Pilate knows that Jesus is innocent, and now his wife is chiming in on his behalf. So Pilate takes Jesus back inside. Who is this man? Where are you from? He says to Jesus, where are you from? And he says, why don't you talk to me? Don't you realize that I have the power to release you or to crucify you? And Jesus says, you would have no power over me unless it was given to you from above. And he then says, the greater sin is the people who handed Jesus over to Pilate. So he's saying that, the religious authorities, here you go, right? Jesus is the Son of God, right? He's the long-awaited Messiah. And the very people who should have recognized him are handing him over to be crucified. They're handing him over. And yet still, in the face of all this, Pilate has the opportunity to do the right thing. So Pilate goes out and he appeals to them again. Shall I release this man? And only Pilate can make the decision, because they want Jesus dead. Only Pilate has the power to do the right thing. And if he does the right thing, there's a potential then of a huge riot, and then he's got to go and answer to Caesar. But if he crucifies Jesus and then releases Barabbas, Barabbas is a revolutionary. Barabbas is a murderer. He's an enemy of Rome. And sometimes in these pressured situations, we may choose to sacrifice justice because of the pressure against us, whether it be from our family, our friends, or our work colleagues. We may make the wrong decision because of the pressure that they're putting on us. Or maybe we may make the wrong decision because we want to save face. Or really, it's just the easy way out. How often do we take the easy way out? I know I have on many times. But the thing is, making a wrong decision always has consequences. So Pilate's there, and he just finds himself in a corner, and the easiest way out is just says, he turns him over to be crucified. And here's the thing, this is an occupied country, right? Israel is an occupied country. The priests and the temple guards, they hate the Romans, and then they're going, we have no king but Caesar. They would say anything to get Jesus crucified. The pressure that Pilate was under, and I'm not exonerating him, and he still makes the wrong decision. How does Pilate come across to you? What would you have done in Pilate's situation? You're the sort of procurator of an occupied country. You're in charge, and you've got all these people baying for the blood of an innocent man. Because here's the thing, do we always do the right thing? When it comes to pressure from our families, from our friends, from our work colleagues, do we always make the right decision? Because there's a cost to making the wrong decision, and that cost could be to us or it could be to others. And Jesus, through all of this, remains mostly silent, because this is why he's come. He's come to die for us. And when you look at Jesus with the answers he gives, how does he come across to you? Could his claim possibly be true? The temple priests are going, he's claiming to be the Son of God. And, Pilate would have been used to gods because, he was a Roman and they worshipped many gods. But then they're going, he's claiming to be the Son of God. And I think Pilate is winding him up a bit by saying, shall I release the King of the Jews? But the thing is, he still had the opportunity to make the right decision. And ultimately, he failed. He failed. He bowed to pressure of the temple authorities and the crowds. And he just, I've had enough. And in another gospel, he just washes his hands. He washes his hands of the whole thing. And that's where we go, I'm washing my hands of the whole thing, because Pilate did the same thing. And so Jesus is led away to be crucified. And we'll be looking at that next time. But as always, what do you know about Jesus that you didn't know before? How has this changed your opinion of him? And what other questions has this raised? Even the questions of pressure, and goodness knows, because Pilate was under immense pressure, but we too find ourselves under pressure in everyday situations. So as always, it's all in here, the Encounter in Jesus book, which you can get on our website, and it's got a monologue of Pilate in there, where he's talking about what's happened and why he made these decisions. I mean, obviously this is me writing this, this is me speculating, but it's got things for you to reflect on with all these questions. What do you think about Jesus? How has this changed his opinion? How has this changed your opinion of him? And what other questions has he raised? Because sometimes we got lots of questions, and we can write those questions down, and they don't get answered until, much later in the story. Sometimes they don't get answered, and we keep on searching. But that's what this is all about. That's what Encountering Jesus is all about. So, wow, that was a biggie. How do we react under pressure? We saw Peter, and now we see Pilate. So we see a fisherman, and then we see the chief of a country, and they both make the wrong decisions. But we'll see later what happens to Peter and everything else. Well, that's it. Tea once more, lukewarm. Thank you again for your company, and I will see you again in the next one. Bye bye.